Welcome back to CNN. I'm Brooke Baldwin. I just want to stay on Iraq. Let's dig a little deeper into the crisis unfolding there, and we'll talk with this American general who commanded U.S. troops. But first, just take a look, another look here at images surfacing out of Iraq that purport to show how fast and how easily Iraq's government troops are falling. These pictures are being posted on jihadi sites worldwide and claim to show the execution of Iraqi security forces. I should add here that CNN cannot confirm the authenticity. But then there's this video. This was posted on YouTube following piles here of Iraqi forces' uniforms discarded on a sidewalk in Mosul. The question many are asking, how could the Iraqi military fold so quickly, considering the billions the U.S. spent training Iraqi security forces, building their capabilities, etc.? One of the people asking those very important questions is retired Lieutenant General Mark Hertling, who served as a commander in northern Iraq from 2007 to 2008. General, welcome.
Good afternoon, Brooke.
Let's just begin quite simply with the cities where you were headquartered, Mosul and Tikrit, among others, now in the hands of these militants. You're watching all this unfold, changing every day. General, your impressions?
Well, my impressions are, first of all, you're right. It's difficult. We haven't just been, for those of us who have served there, we don't just focus on this when the crises occur. We've been watching northern Iraq because we've left a part of ourselves there. We were stationed, our headquarters were in Tikrit. My responsibility was for all of the north. And in that responsibility, we trained 5 Iraqi army divisions that are actually getting some of the heat for giving up their uniforms, turning down their weapons. But I think there have been many contributions to why this occurred. Part of it is the fact that they're dealing with the worst of the worst Sunni extremist. Al-Baghdadi is an evil, evil guy. And
the leader of this group, ISIS.
Correct. And I think that's contributed significantly. And as Michael Holmes just said a minute ago, they have a strategy. They have an operational plan. This is not a bunch of ragtag individuals. That's
exactly what he said. They are smarter than the world wishes they were. And let me point out this Washington Post op-ed that you wrote recently about, you outlined sort of how the Iraqi military really folded. And just to quote you, one of your examples, even before the U.S. forces left, American trained leaders were being replaced with more and more favored officers from sects, tribes, or families linked to the government. They weren't chosen for their competency, a big mistake. And that's one example in the title of your piece, Iraq is currently crumbling. You offer up myriad solutions here, but Nouri al-Maliki isn't adapting. Is his inability, General, is his inability to lead proof enough that the U.S. must get involved?
Well, and that's the thing. I think the President's national security team is faced with some very difficult choices, and there are no easy answers, and there are certainly no right answers, Brooke. This is a situation where if you go in and back up the government of Iraq, you're basically backing up an individual who has caused some of the problems by his actions over the last several years. Mr. Maliki has not been as inclusive as he should have been with both the Sunnis and the Kurds. Now, that doesn't account for the extremists that we're seeing leading some of the attack, but it might account for how those individuals might be supported. The Iraqi heartland in the north and in the west are certainly supporting, whether they want to or not, some of these extremist forces because of both the pressure and the violence, but also because they've seen their central government not care much about the inclusion of the other sects within Iraq.
So if you don't necessarily want to bolster this leadership, what are your options if you're the President of the United States?
Let me revert back to my earlier statement. There are no easy and no right solutions. But the problem is the President's faced with a couple of conundrums. First of all, can he support Maliki and against Sunni extremists and perhaps some people who are less than extreme and cause problems in other parts of the world? As Arwa said before, maybe Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, UAE, these are Sunni republics. Or does he not do anything and upset the entire Shia world? What are the Kurds reacting, and what are the ways they're reacting to this whole situation? So again, no easy, no quick solutions. For those of your listeners who would suggest, well, let's just go in and use F-16s or unmanned aerial drones, That might help in a couple of specific and unique instances, but that certainly isn't a war winner. We had many more Air Force and UAVs in theater when we had 100,000+ troops there, and it was still difficult fighting some of the insurgencies and some of these terrorists.
So what would change the balance of power on the ground?
Well, I think first, it's not going to happen quickly, that's for sure.
Sure.
But I think, as others have said, we've got to bring the politicians together. This is not an Army problem. It has been perceived to be an Army problem because of the way the divisions of the Iraqi Army faded away, but they faded away because of a reason, and that's because of a lack of support by the government and some sectarian divides within the country. It's a very challenging culture, and we can't just look at the Army as being the issue here. It is how the Army was supported by the government and by the people.
But you said off the top of the interview, I just jotted it down, you said you left part of yourself there some time ago. Just quickly, did you at any point predict this would happen?
No, of course not. I don't think anyone predicted this will happen, although there have been some indicators in the last year that this kind of violence could occur. General Flynn gave a briefing in January saying that this could happen, and he thought it would happen in 2014, but he didn't think it would happen this quickly. Going back to leaving a part of yourself there, I think all soldiers who fought and families of those who made the ultimate sacrifice are watching this very closely, and they're thinking, was it all for naught? It wasn't. We gave Iraq the chance.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, we gave them the chance, and I think to a degree it was squandered. But it could potentially be regained, but it's going to take a whole bunch of smart people to figure out how.
Okay, we'll be watching for those smart people and their decisions. General Hertling, thank you so much for coming on. Coming up, with Iraq on the brink of a potential civil war, Iran offers to help the U.S. fight terrorism there. But how smart is it for the U.S. to do business with Iran? We'll talk about that.